But I was lucky to be around that and be around hip hop in the '80s. You know what I mean? Just studying, the the b boys, studying the DJs, all the graffiti, all that stuff.
Mm.
And back then, this is like 84, 85. I tried it all. I tried to rap. I tried to break. I was doing graffiti, and for some reason, just DJing stuck with me. You know what I mean? Scratching, um, in general, felt natural, and I felt like I could express myself best through that. And so I just stuck with it. You know what I mean? And I was just grateful and fortunate to be around, the older guys who pretty much paved the way and showed me the way. You know what I mean?
Who were the inspiration? Who were the people that paved the way and showed you the way of the time?
So in my hometown in San Jose, there was one guy, Peanut Butter Wolf, and yeah, he's a few years older than me. I went to school with his sister, and so just kind of being around them, his family, and just seeing kind of what he was doing. He was DJing. He was working back then with Charisma and other MCs, and just scratching. You know what I mean? So whenever I got a chance to see him DJ out live, I would definitely go. And I was underage back then, so I'd have to sneak into the events. He was one definitely that inspired me. King Tech,
Oh,
from the
nice.
Sway and Tech Wake Up Show. He's another one, another legend. And he's from also the South Bay, um,
Mm.
where I grew up. And then of course Cubert, Mixmaster Mike Apollo, those guys as
Just
well.
crazy lineage. I say that word quite a lot, but this the only way to describe it is like to have these people who weren't so widely known, but
Hmm.
in the paddock with, that must have been one hell of a. You sometimes you can just you naturally collect creative energy without even knowing how rare it is. And when you're with these kind of peoples that are like orbiting around the same area as you, it must have been a given. Like, yo, of course, Peanut Butter Wolf. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, he was definitely the hometown hero. And, coming from where we grew up, just looking up to him and seeing him take these steps, and and he created Stone's Throw, and then he moved to LA, and so it's very inspiring, to see someone from our own hometown make it and be successful. Very inspiring.
How much of that, D man? How much of that is creative energy, and how much of that is timing? Because if I remember that era and discovering you guys, it was really like a very special moment.
Yeah, I'd probably say it's 50-50, because at that time, that was before the explosion of the internet, and you really had to go out and dig and find stuff. And so, back then, timing was everything. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was just a great time to be active and to be putting out music back then. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, it was a golden era. And talk to me about where, because obviously, as mentioned, although there were a lot of influences around you, the turntablism, or what it came to become, was still very fresh, wasn't it?
Definitely was. Like, I would say, whew, we were getting a lot of our influence from watching old DMC videotapes back then.
Mm.
And it was almost like, it was hard to find these videotapes, because they weren't selling them at your local store, right? You had
Mm-hmm.
to get a copy of a copy of a copy from someone. And it's just funny, because back then the guy who used to sell these videotapes was Cubert. So he was the plug for trying to get these
That's amazing.
these DMC battles, right? And, you would, and back then that That was like the era of the pager or the beeper. So you would page Q, and you'd like specify like a time to come by his place, meet him, give him $5. He would give you the tape. You'd go home and study these videotapes. So he was the plug. And yeah, it was just crazy, man, because that's how we learned. You know what I mean? We learned from watching videotapes, rewinding it 100 times, trying to copy what these guys were doing. And you know, and these DMC battles, these were the Olympics. You know what I mean? Every
Yeah.
country had somebody, and so it was just interesting and dope to see how someone from Greece or Japan, you know, or the Netherlands, they would use their own flavor and their own style from where they came from, and put it into their DJing style or their cutting or their beat juggling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I mean, that sounds just so given that Q was the hookup, he was the plug. But that just
He
seems
definitely, yeah.
like how did that even come about? Like how did you know that he was the guy to go and see?
I mean, because you know, as far as the whole DJ battle scene, you know that's a very small scene. It's very niche. If you go to a couple battles, you kind of meet everyone, all the key players, in you know in the scene, especially in the San Francisco Bay Area. So, you know, like once you kind of meet someone, you know, then that just kind of you just kind of connect the dots, and you know everyone will just say, "Hey, where do you get that 193 you know DMC battle?" And they'll just tell you, "Oh, you got to get it from Q. Just connect with Q, and he'll get you, you know, the drugs basically."